aren't we lucky to have heard that original recording of a man ripping up the deeds to his friend's estate in a rage of jealousy. Truly remarkable. Hello, and welcome back to the final couplet with me, Theo Cowan. First of all, I have to apologise for there not being an episode last week. I got all mixed up. I thought that I was having a guest on to talk about Sonnet 119, but actually they'd chosen a different sonnet altogether and I was an idiot. But the good news is they will be joining me in a couple of episodes' time, so something to look forward to for all of us. I hope you weren't too upset that there wasn't an episode, and you weren't too desperate to hear my breakdown and analysis of Sonnet 119. But all is okay. I'm back now. Don't worry. And let me tell you this, I have leveled up in the podcasting game. You know what? I used to sit with my microphone sat on a desk like an idiot. Now I've got one of those arms, one of those podcasting arms that holds the microphone and extends out, and I can sit in a nice comfy chair and have it suspended in front of me, and I feel fantastic. I can't promise that it'll make the content of this podcast any better, but it makes me feel better, that's for sure. Right, with all that out of the way, we've got a sonnet to look at, and it's Sonnet 119. Let's take a listen. Sonnet 119. What potions have I drunk of Siren tears, distilled from limbecks foul as hell within, applying fears to hopes, and hopes to fears, still losing when I saw myself to win. What wretched errors hath my heart committed, whilst it hath thought itself so blessed never? How have mine eyes out of their spheres been fitted in the distraction of this madding fever? O benefit of ill! Now I find true that better is by evil still made better. And ruined love, when it is built anew, grows fairer than at first, more strong, far greater. So I return rebuked to my content, and gain by ills thrice more than I have spent. So there we have it, Sonnet 119, and good to hear that he's still talking about the affairs that he's been having. He's sort of finding over the last few sonnets, and I think this is probably a direct continuation on from Sonnet 118. He's finding ways to excuse himself. And in this sonnet, he's saying, you know what, actually me doing all these evil things, and he's saying he's done a fair few evil things, so it's not necessarily just infidelity, other stuff too. Hopefully not murder, or something as bad as that, but he's done some bad things. That's the long and short of it. And in this, he's sort of saying, you know, I've done these bad things, but I think in doing the bad things and it being really bad for our relationship, it actually makes us stronger. It makes the love between us better. So I've maybe done a good thing. Think about that. Which is probably the last thing you want to hear your lover say after they've just told you that they've cheated on you. So well done, Shakespeare. I think you've gone about this the worst way you possibly could. But maybe his lover lapped it up at the time. Maybe he was like, wow, yeah, you're right. Maybe Shakespeare was so influential at the time and so powerful with his words that people just loved everything he had to say and believed everything. In these last few sonnets, he strikes me as quite a manipulative man, Shakespeare. And I like how, just to go off on a little tangent, he's always portrayed in films and books, and you know, we've got Hamnet, the film coming out, and he's always portrayed as this quite cool guy, elusive, sexy. But I mean, after reading the sonnets, he's a weird dude. He's a weird guy. He's neurotic and quite quite an arsehole a lot of the time. I don't think he was this cool character that everyone likes to describe him as. Anyway, that's my hot take. Let's dive into Sonnet 119 line by line and work out what the hell Shakespeare was going on about in this one. So we start with, what potions have I drunk of Siren tears, distilled from limbecks foul as hell within? So here he's basically saying, I've drunk some crazy medicines made of Siren's tears. Now, Sirens are a Greek mythological creature. I think they've got the head and body of a woman, and is it the legs of a bird? Something like that. Anyway, they're very enticing, aren't they? They sort of lure people in with their singing, and I think potentially sailors specifically. And they maybe guide the sailors into rocks. They're quite destructive, I think, sirens. Anyway, Shakespeare's saying that he's drinking these crazy medicines made of Siren's tears. Don't think this is true. I think this is probably a metaphor. Unless he is. I mean, not for me to say. And those medicines were horrible as hell itself. They were disgusting. They were grim. They're bad. They're bad for you. And here I basically think the medicines are the bad things that he's done. You know, he's been doing bad things, essentially, is what he's saying in these first couple of lines. Applying fears to hopes and hopes to fears, still losing when I saw myself to win. So he's confused hopes and fears, applying one to the other, so applying hopes to fears and fears to hopes, always losing when he expected himself to win. It's all really part of the same statement here. He's done some bad things. He's got a bit muddled up and confused. He expected the bad things that he did to be great, and he expected himself to win from them, to triumph. But actually, he's the real loser here. In cheating and all of that, all of the other bad things he's done. Maybe he's done a murder. Not for me to say. Hopefully not. And it's all bad, and he hasn't won anything from it, actually. What wretched errors hath my heart committed, whilst it hath thought itself so blessed never. So my heart made some real bad mistakes. It really messed up at the moment when I thought I'd never been luckier or more blessed. So at a point in his relationship or his life when he thought, wow, I'm really on a good path here. We're doing great. We're in love. His heart decided to do some bad stuff. How have mine eyes out of their spheres been fitted in the distraction of this madding fever? So my eyes have bulged out of their sockets because of this maddening fever. And I think the maddening fever is maybe the bad that he's done, the drive to do bad things, the drive to have affairs. It's not great. And his eyes have been bulging out of their sockets, hopefully not literally. That would be quite a disturbing sight, Shakespeare coming in through the door with his eyes sort of dangling out of their sockets. O benefit of ill! Now I find true that better is by evil still made better. So now he seems to have this revelation. He said, yeah, all these things that I did, they were really bad. I acknowledge that. I slept around with other guys, other women, whatever, whoever, and it was a bad thing. But, wowee, good things can come from evil, by the way. Let me tell you that. So out of all this evil that I've done, interesting he describes it as evil. I mean, it really makes you think what he's been up to, doesn't it? I mean, having affairs is bad. It is bad. I mean, some would definitely describe it as evil. But for me, evil, I think of really, really bad things. I know I've said it before. I am thinking murder. No, he can't have murdered, can he? That's insane. I think he's just saying, it's evil to... So he's just done some evil things, all right? Let's not think too much on it. He's not being specific for a reason. And it continues with, and ruined love, when it is built anew, grows fairer than at first, more strong, far greater. So love that has been ruined, when you ruin love and then you build it back up, it actually grows way more beautiful, stronger and greater. Now, listen, I'm going to need people to tell me this, because this hasn't happened to me in this way, but and maybe we're getting a bit too personal here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If a relationship that you've been in, if there's been some sort of evil has taken place, if we can say evil, and the relationship's gone a bit downhill, it's been ruined in a sense, and then you've built it back up, you've saved it from disaster, has it been a better relationship for it? Because you've gone through all of this stuff together, you've battled against evil, and you've come out victorious, and your love is stronger than ever. That's basically what Shakespeare's saying here. So, has that happened to you? I think you can have this as a thought in your head, but I wouldn't make a sonnet out of it to read to your lover. I wouldn't say, look, I know I've cheated, but actually, this could be a good thing for us. We could rebuild our relationship after all of the evil that I've done, all the bad things. We can rebuild and be better and stronger than ever. I think it's okay to have that thought, but don't read it to your lover, for God's sake, Shakespeare. He never learns. Right, we're on to the final couplet. So I return rebuked to my content, and gain by ills thrice more than I have spent. So he returns to his lover. He comes back, rebuked for his mistakes. And actually, in returning, he gets back 3 times more from his mistakes than he ever lost. So he's messed up, but he actually gains. I mean, this almost feels like an advertisement for infidelity. It feels like he's saying, tell you what, you go away, sleep around, do all the evil things you want to do, come back, actually, relationship's better, 3 times better. So give it a go. Infidelity, give it a go, is what Shakespeare's saying in 119. And that's the sonnet. Well done. Another sonnet about cheating and doing evil things and it actually being okay. For me, Shakespeare's getting more and more deluded as we go through these sonnets. Right, I think it's about time we put this to our story. And if you remember last week, Shakespeare, he's been having this whole hoo-ha with the Earl of Southampton. And he's gone to him and he said, look, I'm sorry for all the bad things that I've done. I've cheated on you. It's bad. It's not great. And the Earl of Southampton says, look, you need to get away from me. Shakespeare goes to the pub. Who's in there? His old friend Ben Jonson. They have a few drinks together, they're getting merry, they start talking about the relationship that they had a few years ago and why it failed, and, you know, a few more drinks go down the old gullets, and yes, they kiss. Shakespeare's at it again. But just as they break away from the kiss, can you believe it? The Earl of Southampton's there. He's come to say sorry to Shakespeare and to maybe give the relationship another go, but he's caught Shakespeare in the act. He's cheating again. It's a nightmare. The Earl of Southampton says, I can't believe you're doing this to me. What are you doing? You're cheating after all you've said, after all your apologies. And he goes off. He's fuming. Shakespeare, he goes home and he's gone, oh no, I've really messed it up again. He's got a problem at this point, Shakespeare. It's very clear. Anyway, he's got his cat on his lap and he's thinking, I need to write a sonnet about cheating. Again, another one. Bloody hell. It's like the story of my life. So he writes Sonnet 118, where he talks about having to get over his evil deeds and how he's returning to the person who makes him happy, aka the Earl of Southampton. And he gets his cat, Mercutio, to deliver it to the Earl of Southampton. The Earl of Southampton is in his house. Mercutio arrives, drops the letter off. Earl of Southampton's in tears. He gives Sonnet 118 a read. That's what's happened. Let's see what happens next. The Earl of Southampton finishes reading Sonnet 118. He wipes the tears from his eyes, looks down at Mercutio, and says, "Listen, cat, I know you're a cat and you can't really understand English, but why is he having all these affairs? He says he's sorry, but I'm worried he'll just keep going and keep doing these evil things." Mercutio looks up at him and blinks slowly, as if to say, "I know, mate, I've been with him for years and he's got a problem." And then, at that moment, there's a bell that rings out across London. It is really loud, and it's coming at 1:15 a.m. Who's ringing a church bell at 1:15 a.m? It continues ringing. Bong, bong, bong. The Earl of Southampton scoops up Mercutio in his arms and runs out into the street. There are a few other people there wondering why these bells are ringing at 1:15 a.m. And they all walk together, following the sound of the bell. Eventually they arrive at a church in Holborn. It's a big old church, and, of course, there's a bell tower. The bell is still ringing, and it's been ringing for the last half hour. It's starting to give people a bloody headache. And from the bell tower, a man appears. He's holding on to the brickwork of the bell tower with one arm, and swinging his body out of the bell tower, almost as if he's dangling from it dangerously. People shriek in horror. They're worried for him. The Earl of Southampton can hear a faint shout from this man. In the wind it carries to him. "Earl! Earl! I love you, Earl!" He suddenly realises it's bloody William Shakespeare up there. What's he doing? He's lost his mind. He quickly rushes through the doors of the church and up the spiral stone steps until he reaches the bell tower, Mercutio still in his arms. In the bell tower, Shakespeare is still ringing the bell frantically and shouting, "Earl! Earl! I love you, Earl!" until he notices the Earl of Southampton. He stops abruptly. The Earl says, "What are you doing? Hanging out of that bell tower? You could get yourself killed." Shakespeare says, "Oh, you came, and Mercutio's with you. Hello, Mercutio." He gives Mercutio a little pat on the head, and the cat rolls his eyes. He just wishes he was in his bed asleep. "I needed to get your attention, Earl. I realised there was more I had to say from my last sonnet. I needed to add to it." And the Earl says, "Shakespeare, I get it. I understand. I just don't think..." And Shakespeare says, "No, please, Earl, listen to me. I broke into this church. I dinged this bell for 45 minutes. I might get arrested. I almost killed myself. Please let me read to you the rest of this poem." And the Earl says, "Oh, God, all right, but make it your last, for God's sake. I'm tired. It's 2 a.m. And Shakespeare says, "Oh, it is 2 a.m. Let me just quickly, I've just got to ding the bell twice, because, the bell has to ring twice at 2. So with that, he rings the bell twice. Does it quite well, actually. Maybe he's got a future career in bell ringing. And then he pulls out Sonnet 119 from his back pocket and reads, Sonnet 119. I've drunk some crazy medicines made of Siren's tears that were as horrible as hell itself. I confused hopes and fears, applying one to the other, always losing when I expected myself to win. My heart made some real bad mistakes At the moment I thought I had never been luckier or more blessed. My eyes have bulged out of their sockets because of this maddening fever. But wow, good things can come from evil. Now I truly see that good things can be made even better through evil, and that when you ruin love and then rebuild it, it grows way more beautiful, stronger, and greater. So I come back, rebuked for my mistake, and get back 3 times more from my mistakes than I ever lost. So there we have it, Sonnet 119 and a story to go with it. It's good to be back. Find out how... Oh my God, almost threw up there. Oh, jeez. Find out how Sonnet 120 fits into all this. Until next week, bye!